So, Stephanie, this is a non-economic question, but I'm curious.
Oh my
I know
God.
I'm moving away from the economics. I've
Wow,
reached my
let's go.
limit. On the one hand, you were advisor to a presidential candidate. You had a New York Times bestseller. MMT is a thing that people know about to a certain extent. On the other, it's certainly not like it's replaced the political conversation about how we should spend money, right? So, how possible is it really to change a discourse to such a large extent?
I think it was Nixon, right, who famously quipped that we're all Keynesians now. Well, you get a crisis. It usually takes a crisis of a significant magnitude to force a rethink, to force a change, a paradigm shift, if you like. And I think you saw that with the Keynesian revolution and the ideas that John Maynard Keynes introduced, winning the day. And for many decades, being the sort of dominant paradigm in economics. MMT is not altogether a departure from Keynesian economics. It's just that there are some additions and deeper insights, and I think in places and some updating and whatnot. Look, I think COVID did that. I have a collection somewhere at home of articles that were published during 2020, 2021, where the headlines all had some version of "We're all MMTers now." I have stacks of those. So for a while, a lot of people were writing and, the discourse was changing in ways that led a lot of people to say MMT actually was winning the conversation, and that there was a paradigm shift. It's just that we started to backslide. And I think with inflation, which ironically was the thing we always emphasized, that was the area of concern and where we ought to be focusing. Too many people took from MMT the wrong lesson or half of a lesson, which was the government can't run out of money. And they went, whoopee, let's send a bunch of checks to people. And MMT told us that this is all okay. No, the other side of the lesson, the rest of the sentence was, you can't run out of money, but you can run out of things to buy. Inflation is the thing to watch out for. And unfortunately, the way that legislation is analyzed when Congress writes a bill and you send it to the Congressional Budget Office, which is the so-called nonpartisan scorekeeper, and they look at the bill, what they're mostly focused on is what will it do to the deficit? How will it impact the debt over time? And what MMT says is this is not the thing that you really need to help lawmakers understand. What you need to help them understand is, will this bill help accomplish the things you think it will help to accomplish, alleviate poverty, rebuild infrastructure, cover more people with healthcare, whatever? And can you do it in a way that doesn't create unwanted inflationary pressures? Can you help lawmakers analyze the inflation risk that's associated with the tax or spending bill that they're considering? We didn't do that. And that's what I wrote about in my book, that we need to change the way that we evaluate legislation before we authorize it, before we charge headlong into let's go spend trillions of dollars on infrastructure, healthcare, whatever. Let's make sure we've done rigorous analysis on the resource side to make sure that we're not, sparking an inflation problem, because we don't want to do that. People hate it. It will make whatever you're trying to do politically unpopular. We got a lot of the way there, but not all the way there.